partner, B Capital. And this session will be moderated by the very capable hands of Lynette Tan, the Chairwoman and CEO of Space Faculty. Over to you, Lynette.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, a shout out to the organizers for KL20. It has been an amazing conference, an event. Woo! Bringing different people together, loving the energy even though we are in the second day, and looking forward to an interesting discussions with the panelists I have here, and to share more about the future of fintech. I'm going to have them introduce themselves because they are very strong. They have very strong domain expertise in the work that they do, and I think they would do good justice to present to themselves to you and share about their work. Alan, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Lynette. So we are from Presto Digital, a digital asset management firm that focuses on the financial sector. So for us, technology is our DNA, and we have different business units spanning across market making. I run out the digital asset fund. We have OTC product, structured product. We have an exchange of our own. Fundamental thesis is that we believe at some point, digital asset is going to be a critical part of the traditional financial world. And the two worlds is likely to merge and integrate. And we want to be a part of this exciting journey.
Thanks, Ritesh.
Great, thank you. And it's great to be here. What a vibrant, actually, community here. I'd love to come back again. I've been actually witnessing a lot of great talks, a lot of discussions here. Well, my name is Ritesh. I'm the founder and CEO of CYFIRMA. CYFIRMA is a 6-year-old cybersecurity company started in Singapore. We are pretty much a global company now, and what we essentially do is we go about identifying external threats and risks for organizations. So we kind of go behind the bad actors, we go behind bad things which is happening out there, and we kind of keep track of it, and we come back and we tell our clients and customers that, well, this is how cyber criminals are actually planning their act. And this comes from my background as well. I have spent a little bit of time in intelligence agency. I used to be with British intelligence with MI6. Not as James Bond, as you can see, I don't look like James Bond. But I was the first computer guy there, very much the first one. So something which I've learned, and based on that, which we have built, super successful. We have we started our sort of aspiration from Japan to Southeast Asia, to Middle East, India, Europe, and US now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not like James Bond, but like he treat Roshan, right?
Well, hard to follow that James Bond background, but mine's more boring. I'm a mathematician by training, passionate photographer, and been an investor now for 20 years. A founding partner here at B Capital. We set up the firm in 2016, ready to invest in tech across Asia, which is Southeast Asia, India, and also the US. So that's kind of really our focus. We look at investments across fintech, enterprise software, digital health, consumer-enabled tech. And excited to have this conversation with my fantastic panel and moderator today.
Great. Kabir, while I have you on your furthest out, can I ask you, since B Capital was founded in 2016, and that's about 8 years from now, and you invest across different markets, could you perhaps simplify for us and share some of the patterns you've observed with the different economies, different markets, and over the different years, and what can we look out for, particularly in fintech and in the next 4 to 5 years, based on the patterns you've observed?
Great question. Lots of sub-questions in the unraveling patterns across the world. I think we've seen a few things in... I think there's a timing aspect. I think the last 14 years, you'd seen a very interesting low interest rate, declining interest rate environment. And so part of our growth was in that very unique environment. I think the investment regime has changed since then. And I think what's going to be critical is how many of the businesses that have been built, how many of them last over the next few years and decades. I think in fintech in particular, I think we've looked at patterns across areas like digitization of financial services, in this part of the world, democratization of financial services, and then also embedded finance. I'd say on the digitization of financial services, which is really large spend that have happened across big banks, big financial institutions, and they spend billions of dollars. How do you make that more efficient? In the current world, in the next 4 or 5 years, I can see AI playing a big role in how do you make efficiency gains in financial services. There's an interesting stat, and we've got a tie-up with BCG and others, much smarter people. But if you just look at the global economy is 100 trillion, you have about 300 trillion of a flow that goes through the financial services system. And at the time we set up the B Capital, the rough estimate is 240 bips used to actually get, I guess, accrued as economic value to financial services, the fintech industry. I think what's happened as a pattern in the last 7 years is that 240 bips has come down to about 160, 170 bips. And so clearly one big pattern is consumers have benefited, clients have benefited, customers have benefited, because you've had about the shrinkage on cost of doing business in financial services kind of come down. So that's kind of one part. We do see other interesting things of, what can you see as monetization, say in India, or what's happened in China, what's applicable here in Southeast Asia. So some interesting patterns we can talk about, and we're using that to hopefully find better investment opportunities for us.
Wow. And then, nicely leading to Ritesh, with the astronomical trillions of money flowing in the fintech world, and now even faster, I would imagine the demand, on cybersecurity is just going to be more intense, more stringent. So how do you see the role that CYFIRMA plays in this evolving landscape, and how are you positioning yourself to capture the growth in FinTech 2.0?
No, it's a very timely question. And you see the evolution of cybercrime, right? And this is a very different topic than the headlines which we have in the background. The way cyber criminals have evolved themselves, gone are those days when cyber criminals used to operate out of, some skunky place and they were trying to make some money. Cyber criminals have got a very clear set of targets. They have a clear set of motivation, and they are way more focused than sometimes defenders. If you start to apply what is happening right now in cybercrime community, and especially relate that back to the payments, to fintech, to banking organizations, to the way money is being moved, there are a lot of interest in cybercrime community towards that. And as you can imagine, you have different class of hackers as well. You have financially motivated threat actors or hackers. You have geopolitical motivated threat actors, and you have few threat actors who just want to make their name and fame. Now, all three class of threat actors are super focused towards, I would call it as a financial institution, and that comprises of fintech organization as well. And if you start to look at their focus and what has happened in last 5 years, essentially, their focus is very much moving away from the monetary transaction and going behind the monetary transaction. Their focus is more towards who's using it, who's the user, the behavior, how it is being used, how a particular, if I can, well, I'm not going to name anybody, but let's say a particular mobile app, which you use day to day to do a transaction, how that is being used by the consumers. So their focus is actually pivoting more towards the consumer to understand their behavior. And what that clearly tells us that, well, the quantum of attacks, the quantum of threats, the quality of threats, which we have now started to witness, is going to be very, very different than cyber criminals just going behind the money trail and the transaction. Their trends are more towards behavior. Their trends are more towards consumers. Their trends are more towards how do we go about crippling the whole financial ecosystem. So they are pretty much elevating their game, and I think we as an organization, and especially fintech industry, I think we need to start to elevate our game as well. I think that those days are over of phishing and ransomwares and malware attacks happening, or your mobile app being locked. I think the time has changed. The way threat actors are looking at it is very different. They're using latest technologies. They are using all the great things which we have spoken in the last couple of days, from generative AI to machine learning to LLM models. Everything is being applied to break into you.
Oh, so it's really a game, with the white hackers and the black hackers, and it seems like the bar is set very, very high for this. And you spoke about the consumer pattern, but on that note, maybe I could have Alan talk a little bit. We were having a chat before this, and with fintech, how he described it was basically you're a citizen of another economy. Right, so Ritesh was talking about the consumer behavior. So in this new world country, Alan, maybe you could talk more about what is the landscape like with FinTech 1.0 and then 2.0, and how do you see the world of FinTech today and tomorrow?
Sure. I think the first wave of FinTech 1.0 is really streamlining of processes, digitalization of institutions' flow. But with the emergence of the digital asset world, things start to change. So let's take out the investment and speculative part of digital asset and look at the real technology. That there is something real here that can allow us to do things faster, cheaper, and arguably safer as well. So I tend to liken it as a new country that has emerged that call maybe digital asset land. And every other citizen in another country can get a dual citizenship in this digital asset land. So this current population maybe is doing around 250 to 300 million at the moment, and investments will continue to be made in digital asset land. Infrastructure will continue to be built in that space. And how do you want to participate into this space as part of the innovation and opportunity? So that's how I see it. Ultimately, we believe that demographic is going to be the driver of fintech. Preferences for the younger population to invest or into digital asset versus the traditional investors investing in gold. So there are clear preferences changes, and that will somehow reflect into this digital asset world where most of the younger populations are dabbling with. So that's how we see that. Another example would be, for example, the launch of the Bitcoin ETF or potentially new Ethereum ETF. That is sort of like a trade agreement between the two worlds. So now the traditional financial investors can then move money into the digital asset world, and likewise. So as the boundary begins to break down, the adoption begins to grow, then this is a space that we are really exciting about, a lot of opportunity that we can see, taking aside the speculation and the investment, just looking at pure technology.
That's a very good insight about looking at how we look at fintech world and how it really is a citizenship that we can apply and have a dual citizenship with the world of the digital assets. And coming back to Kabir, again, it's really nice to have that conversation with you, and you talk about how B Capital, it tries to manage just the three aspects of risk. So you have technology, regulatory, and then market. From what I've gathered at KL20 Summit and looking at the amazing inventors and technology we have here, it does sound, that technology is moving steadily. It has a good grasp. Regulatory, well, it's we know how that works. But with the evolution, when we talk about consumer behavior, we talk about the fintech world being like another country. Perhaps that market opportunity and the market risk is the one B Capital might have less control over. Do you see that as being worrisome, or do you see that as being a great opportunity for fintech to truly explode and open up, good ROI and investments and opportunities for B Capital?
I think at some level it's also about how you define fintech. I think if you define it very narrowly, it's one point. I think if you think about it more broadly, where a lot of monetization, especially in this part of the world, happens through fintech. And by that I mean is, you look at our portfolio companies as well. You could almost argue like every company is a fintech company. As you think about monetization, I'll give you small examples. We were talking about earlier, online auto. You could talk about transactions in auto, which is you're buying and selling cars. We have a company called Caro. Big part of the profit pool, about 75% comes from auto and related financing, insurance. And so you've got fintech embedded inside, and I think that's kind of what's monetizing. We've got similar examples in India, companies called Khata Book, which were started as software accounting to small merchants, and a lot of monetization is now happening through some amount of that accounting, but also through lending. And so I think we're seeing some of those business models evolve in kind of very interesting ways. I think to your question, I think here at B Capital, we're seeing some of that happen where you want to avoid taking all three risks at the same time, right? You don't want to take tech risk, market risk, and product risk. Ideally, you want to kind of pick which of those are slightly solved and then kind of see it scale up. I think it is a segment where financial services globally, it's probably the second most regulated segment. I think the big thing we even talk to a lot of startups is how do you partner? And I think that's a big part of our thesis even at B Capital. How do you build bridges and partner? And so it's often, even in FinTech 1.0 or 2.0, it's not just the disruptor. It's not a question of can the disruptor beat the incumbent. Who's going to win? I think it's more about can you work alongside each other? Because there are some advantages. Incumbents have been through the momentum. Some of them have big balance sheets. They work with regulators. Sometimes the startups obviously don't have the same balance sheet, that same large heft. And so can you partner on different things? Same time, incumbents don't have the nimbleness of the startup and can leverage that. And so I think it's more about can you find win-win situations. I think 1.0 was a lot about competing against each other. And like I said, in that version, the consumers benefited, clients benefited, right? So the bips went from 240 bips to 160 bips. So it went from an $8 trillion potential to a $6 trillion potential, but still a $6 trillion potential across areas of wealth management, across areas of digitization of financial services, across areas of digitization, banking. And so I think there's still a lot to be done, but I think the new version is going to be about how do you partner. We think a lot happening in AI, but again, you can see a lot happening by the startups, but how do you partner with some of the incumbents, especially on regulatory and product side?
Thanks a lot, Kabir. And moving to you, Ritesh. So, because you spoke about consumer behavior, and then we talk about incumbents and AI. So, in your company, what are that kind of technology breakthroughs? It could be directly in fintech, but also perhaps in adjacent sectors and technologies that you hope to develop and integrate it into your work so that you can have a more robust and versatile product?
No, it's a great question you ask. If you essentially look at what we do, we collect a lot of data from internet, from cybercrime community, there's a world called the world of AI. In our world, there's a world called dark web. That's where cyber criminals actually talk to each other. So we collect a lot of data. We collect almost a terabyte of data every day. We are bringing those data into our centralized platform, and we have built our analytical models, which actually process through that data to give organizations the ability to understand their external threats and risk. Because historically, if you look at it, organizations were always very focused towards their inward posture, which is anything which is under my perimeter is what I'm going to look after, and everything else is kind of we will leave it to the luck. I think some of the things which we are working on, given the evolution of AI and the way financial institutions are actually pivoting themselves as well, we are building actually a deeper integration into each of the entry points. Now, this could be a consumer of a fintech app, it could be a financial institution, it could be some underwriters, it could be an insurance tech company. How do we actually start to get access to their environmental factor? And when I say environmental factor, again, going back to the point of where cyber criminals are focusing. If their focus is towards the behavior of a system or an individual or organization, then we as a cyber defender, we need to get back there as well and start to understand what are some of the environmental factor which we need to plug in to give a better opportunity to organization for them to build a secure layer of defense, essentially. Number two, I think it also falls back to, are you looking at the upstream of, all the global tech evaluation which is going on right now with AI, generative AI, LLMs, and everything else? How do we start to plug, security by design at that level? It's super important. Like, when you try to build cybersecurity or a security layer after you have built the system, it's super complex, actually, at that stage. And you have to do a lot of duct tape before you can actually really achieve a secure environment. And essentially, our aspiration is to how do we give leverage to organizations and a lot of young companies out there by which they're able to actually plug some of those security principles, design guidelines, as early as when they start to build their ecosystem.
While I have you there, it was very interesting you mentioned cybersecurity by design. So with perhaps the digital capabilities, commonly AI, could you therefore see that the products that we talk about, fintech and cybersecurity, it wouldn't be off the shelf, right? It would be very customized, based on the profile of the businesses and the clients the consumer that they serve, that everybody gets a customized, differentiated platform to serve their cybersecurity needs that supports, fintech. Is that the direction you're going into?
So I'll give a very simple example. I think all of us are aware of deepfakes. Pretty nefarious thing, right? It was meant for something else, but of course it pivoted into completely a different sort of form now. If you look at financial institutions right now, and we ourselves have managed a number of cases of those, where deepfakes are being now used to authenticate against your financial systems. So you could actually take a deepfake image of mine, and you can put it on the authentication system, and authentication systems are actually authenticating. Now, essentially, if you look at some of those challenges, which is, of course, pushed by AI and the way AI is being actually, embedded into financial institution. Now, to give you a very simple example, deepfake is a bigger concern now because, all of us have become very habituated in using, our phones or our facial recognition systems, which authenticates us to our financial systems. And, deepfakes are a big, actually, direction for cyber criminals today, and especially cyber criminals who are financially motivated. We at CYFIRMA, we are looking at how do we actually build a layer of tech on top of your authentication system by which we are able to actually give you a layer by which you are actively able to identify defects. Are they a real persona or are they animated personas? Take another example of generative AI. We have handled multiple cases with pretty large organizations who went quite early into the generative AI and open AI. Well, let's not name any systems, but into the AI world. And a lot of, consolidated data, and I would say inclination data. We call in our world the data which can tell you directionally where this industry is moving or directionally where a particular segment of the industry is moving. Those data were exposed on the internet because there was no containerization done on the data. And what that essentially gave cyber criminals the ability to understand, like if I want to understand what is going on in Apple today or what's going on in Samsung, I don't have to actually go and hack into Samsung, I promise you. I can jump into OpenAI or a generative AI system and ask some very smart set of questions. And I think I will get most of the reconnaissance done using those platforms.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for that insight. Kabir, did you have something to add because you were leaning in or?
No, I just kind of listening. I think there's so many things you spoke about, whether it's cybersecurity, safety, I think that's a broader topic. I think it's a broader topic as we work with a lot of enterprises on that whole digitization of financial services. I think it's top of mind. But I think a separate question is, there are different functions where you're starting to see a lot of activity. Cybersecurity is one, but even the role of AI. Like if you just look at processes across, I'll move to a slightly different one, process across banks. We're looking at things around the whole KYC level, the middleware level. There's a lot of work happening there. So I think I'd say the next few years, a lot of potential for both investments in AI, investments in fintech, but there's also some learnings from the last few years, right? It's got to be ROI focused. Without the ROI, I think it's businesses. I often say you could, in banking, you could, there's death by 1,000, there's a thing of death by 1,000 cuts. Here, you're going to be a death by 1,000 pilots, right? So you want to kind of make sure you're truly adding value, truly adding ROI. So I think that's the only thing I want to say is it's top of the radar, but we've got to have businesses which have got high ROI to be successful.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kabir. Alan, right? So moving on to Alan, he has 3 hats, right? So there's Presto, and then an LP, and also a GP. We're seeing a lot of different technologies intersecting, which is good. But does that make your role as an investor better or more confusing? And that, how do you really know which is the technology breakthrough? Because when we talk about fintech, there's cybersecurity, and then there's consumer, so there's AI involved. How do you now look at a tech company and go, oh, you've got a nice technology that I will make it, I will put money in? It does seem like everything seems to be intertwined these days.
Very good question. From the investor point of view, it's getting really difficult. The ability to do due diligence on specific projects gets really hard and really technical. In the digital asset space, we don't have the basis of history. We can't do deep tech due D without a certain skill set. And there is only that much that has been tried and tested. So we tend to look at it from, at least from an asset allocation point of view, digital asset to us is more like a VC investment that is likely to have very high multiples if you get it right. Or if you don't understand, the general rule is don't touch it. So that's what we do from an asset allocator point of view, allocate the risk budget and go for it like a VC investment. But on the other hand, the digitization of the investment process creates new opportunity as well. So case in point is if you invest in public markets or public equities, how often do you get an annual report? Probably quarterly. You have to review the 10K, you have to take a while to get the analyst meeting and all the information before you can do a reevaluation of the company. Whereas in the blockchain space, you get data live. So just think of it as a company that releases the revenue and earnings numbers on a daily basis. So you can know what are the volume trend, what are the revenue trend on the daily basis on what chain, who is buying what and in what size in an anonymous manner. So for example, in the past few days, when there is a drop in the market, there is someone who came in and buy 1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin and then it supported a certain level and blah, blah, blah. So these are information that can be seen on-chain and versus that of a public markets. This is something that you typically as retail investors, we don't have access to. So being able to claw the data, being able to know where to look and aggregation of the data does give us an edge in investing in this space. So that's one. The other segment that we are particularly keen is the tokenization of real-world assets, which I think is something that is ongoing right now. Main hurdle being jurisdiction risk. So the other way to think of it is for any investors to buy real estate, you have to commit a fairly big amount of money into one property with a very high amount of transaction costs and a very low liquidity profile. But in a tokenized world, imagine you can own 1% of property A, 0.2% of building B, and so forth. So this allows investors access to many different asset classes that is traditionally not available to retail investors. So that to us is also quite an interesting space. And going back to our demographic question, the financial inclusion is also one big aspect of digital assets. A lot of the retail investors doesn't have access to brokerage account or bank account, but most people in the world now have access to a mobile phone, and that allows them to plug on into the investments in digital asset world. So this profile, their buying behavior will give rise to a certain way the digital asset investment will perform. And being able to sieve that out has a high predictive value in terms of where the investment is heading.
Thanks a lot. Kabir, how about you? You're also investing into technology. Now it seems like, is this a fintech company, a AI company, or a cybersecurity company? Is that better, or is there just more, more work for everyone?
No, I think we're looking at several areas. AI is top of the radar. We're looking at things in fintech. You throw in climate tech, digital health. I think it's. A few things. I think last year was generally a tough year. So it was a tough year for tech all over the world. I think there's a bit of a resetting happening. And so I think last year was a lot about how do businesses remodel themselves, become closer to profitability. I'm in general optimistic. So I think second half of this year should be a good year to deploy capital across those sectors. It's across AI. We're doing a lot of work in AI. I think we're starting to see a lot of activity, especially going back to Silicon Valley. And again, some of that AI is going to impact financial services, but other areas, other aspects. I think on cybersecurity, at least, Ritesh, you have a deeper sense as a practitioner. I think you are seeing some amount of, at least we're seeing is comfort happening with the larger, more established businesses. And so there's some M&A happening with the larger players in cybersecurity doing M&A to become larger. And so there's some consolidation happening. That's a common trend we are seeing. In cybersecurity is one prime example of that. I think the other trend we are seeing is big moves happening, slightly separate note, but big moves happening by large tech into these spaces, right? So two examples. Apple, which we all, a lot of, if I just go around the room, I'm sure there's some percentage of us using Apple products, right? So if you think about it, if a company can manage money, if a company can hold money, if a company can move money, you've got to start to think about it. It's acting quite close to what a financial institution would do, right? And so Apple with 1.2 billion devices out there, it's starting to move quite interestingly into the whole financial services area. So it's a tech company, but over years, could you see it play a big way in financial services? Probably could. Similarly in AI, I think you're starting to see historically a lot of the big moves were starting to happen by the Magnificent Seven. And the big chunk of capital, GPUs, which was getting absorbed, as well as AI talent was getting picked up by some of the large tech names, right? So you've seen that happen in a big way. AI is going to transform industries in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but you've seen big moves happening by the larger tech companies. It will be interesting to see what happens, which are the winners that emerge. Proprietary data is going to be like the big differentiator, but you can overlay that with AI now. And I think it's interesting where the big tech players are making some big moves there. So I think that's another thing we're keeping close eye on as we're making investment, at least evaluating investment decisions.
Wow. So a more exciting year. I can feel it, right? There's just a lot more excitement this year compared to last year. Last year was a little bit slow. We've got 3 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up. And we'll end off with something fun, out of this world, quite literally. And I'm going to throw it at them. They were trying to tell me not to do it, but I'm going to do it. So I work in space faculty. We develop people and technology through space. And in particular for fintech, we in the space sector, we talk about moon colonization, going to the Mars, and consumer markets are also going. So Nokia wants to set a communication radio station on the moon. The Chinese are going to the moon, the Indians are going to the moon. We have large Asian superpowers heading for beyond the Earth, right? And I was asking them, maybe that's a role fintech can play, because if I have to bring dollars and coins and to the moon, I need to be able to pay for something. And I want to challenge all of us to think about the cislunar Earth-Moon economy and how maybe that's a world that we can live in, where you have a galactic bank account and I can buy moon dust and stardust. Wouldn't that be a nice future? Maybe share your thoughts with the audience on it. Alan, hot seat.
I think so. I think it's pretty much going back to first principle, the basis of trade, barter trading, what is of value to each galaxy or planet system. So that might create a whole new trade system that I think that will be interesting. Yes.
And what about you, Ritesh?
No, it's a very, very interesting point you made. I'm just thinking, yeah, it's super, super exciting. And I'm thinking again, I'm applying, what do we have to defend?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, at that stage, when we are talking about like, 2 planets, 3 planets coming together and you're making those livable. My God, the intensity of bad things happening. I'm sorry for giving all the bad news today. I think I should be giving good news, but I'm giving all the bad news today. But essentially, that's very, very exciting. And then the sort of quantum of innovation which needs to happen to manage that, I think it's quite overwhelming.
So maybe also before Kabir takes the hot seat, the space industry is worth almost $600 billion today. It has been growing at 8 to 10% even during COVID. It is a resilient sector. 70-80% of that is from the commercial sector, largely in communications and downstream applications and insights. And PwC, Deloitte, World Economic Forum have projected it for it to go to $1.6 trillion in the next decade. So I think there's amazing money in space, and I think there's a role that fintech can play. So for you, Kabir, how do you see the cislunar moon beyond Earth economy in fintech?
On a lighter note, I think in any fund, you've got to take a few moon shots. So this could be one of those moon shots to take. But you're right. It's I don't know about the fintech part, but you're right. You're starting to see a lot more opportunities come out in what I'd call space tech, and you know this much better. But whether it's leveraging or finding more efficient ways of launching satellites, and we're seeing that innovation happen across, whether it's from Bangalore or Silicon Valley. And so you're seeing some of that innovation, which is quite interesting, quite unique. We're seeing work happening in using space tech to better track climate. We're seeing space tech and some early things of better track logistics. Like we're seeing a company a few months ago just tracking movement of container ships and how can you do it more efficiently. I haven't figured out the fintech angle of it yet, but I'm sure if we kind of brainstorm, we'll get there. But I think it is an interesting one to take some of those moon shots, especially given the kind of massive out-of-the-world opportunity.
Yeah, and what happened, right? Because one of the things you talked about was the shortening of the lag between transactions, and that actually is a strong factor, in communicating to Mars and to Moon, and that when I need to get some message from Mars, it takes a while. So it's very hard to transact. But with that shortening of lead time, you really could have interplanetary galactic transactions in nanoseconds. So I think it's an exciting time. But just to end off, I've not met an alien who's paid me any money. I've not met an investor, a banker, or a customer in space. So go talk to these real organic, carbon material people. They will give you what you want. But it's also nice to have some moonshots and think about the future world we can live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to our lineup of speakers. Thank you, Lynette, for moderating the session. Just a quick photo opportunity up front with our photographer. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind interest and attendance. I'm very pleased to announce that lunch is not served, but we have the KLCC just right across the Link Bridge. Please feel free to grab yourself a delectable lunch. We are in Malaysia after all, the capital city of good cuisine, I must say. Please be back here before 2 p.m. And as always, we're going to run a concurrent session. So do take note on the presentations that will take place at Level 1 Plenary Hall, as well as those that will be happening here. Coming back from lunch at 2 p.m., we're going to have Malaysia startup founders, some of whom the brands are here with us today. They're going to be sharing with us their life experiences, the trials and tribulations. So if you'd like to hear from the founders themselves, please do come back here at Level 3 by 2 p.m. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you soon.
Policy and productivity. You often hear the country's economic policies aimed at increasing gross domestic product. increasing exports, increasing investment, and creating high employment opportunities. These policies are also associated with improving the standards of living of the people. Are such policies appropriate or otherwise? What is your opinion? Do you often hear economic policies targeted at increasing the productivity of an industry, a state, or a country? For example, the increase in GDP, which is the national output, is less appropriate if it involves a more significant input. This means that the rate of the resulting output to input is shrinking, or simply put, productivity decreases as GDP increases. In every economic policy, the government should pay particular attention to enhancing the efficiency or productivity to convert input sources, namely labour and capital, to products and services. For example, in the manufacturing process, policies need to be directed towards improving employee skills, either upskilling or reskilling, to produce greater output while maintaining or decreasing the current input sources. Organisations need to be encouraged to innovate, especially by using technology that can help increase productivity, reducing costs, producing better quality products and services by penetrating better markets should be prioritised. In short, policymakers need to focus on increasing productivity. The target of productivity growth for a duration should be set and monitored periodically. Compliance with regulations and the implementation of incentives that can increase productivity must be made easier. If you succeed in doing this, the high standard and quality of living that we dream of will become a reality. I am sure that you can make your organisation and Malaysia more productive. This message is brought to you by the Malaysian Productivity Corporation. The Great Reset. COVID-19 was declared the global pandemic by the World Health Organization in 2020. It has dramatically disrupted the economic sectors. Most countries recorded their gross domestic product plunged to the lowest level in decades. Meanwhile, their unemployment figures rose sharply. The government services, especially public healthcare, were stretched out to their limit in fighting the pandemic. The COVID-19 testing, treating hospitalized patients, and vaccination is becoming major healthcare activities. Other services, such as education and various regulatory delivery and enforcements, are also impacted. The governments are forced to create the stimulus to ensure people are protected. Billions of dollars of economic stimulus are pumped into the economy to avoid market failure. The World Economic Forum 2021 has urged countries should capitalize on resetting their business models during the recovery period. Professor Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of WEF, stated, "The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Every country, including Malaysia, should reset and revive for a better and sustainable economy. The priorities for restoring and transformation are towards the new economic systems that combine productivity, people, and planet targets. They are categorized into 4 areas of action. First, reviving and transforming the enabling environment. Public institutions should embed strong governance principles, long-term vision, and delivery of public services digitally. ICT infrastructure needs to be upgraded to enable the services, and closing the digital divide are key focus areas. Second, reviving and transforming human capital, workforce reskilling and upskilling, update education curricula and expand investment in skills for future jobs. Labour laws and social protection need to be redesigned towards the new economy. Third, reviving transforming market. Incentives should prioritise the direct financial resources towards long-term investments, strengthen stability and expand inclusion. Facilitation of the market of tomorrow, especially in public-private collaboration, should be emphasised. In addition, an agile regulatory framework to enable fourth industrial revolution must be established. Fourth, reviving and transforming the innovation ecosystem. Incentives in research, innovation and invention that can create the market of tomorrow are essential. In addition, firms should be promoted to embrace diversity, equality and inclusion to enhance creativity. Malaysia should not miss this reset and reviving opportunity to design the foundations for a productive country for future generations. This message is brought to you by Malaysia Productivity Corporation.
And now that the time has come, spread your wings and fly high, high in the sky, everything you need and more, the place you want to be. Oh, be it the kampong or in the city, I see your smiles to greet you wherever you go. The time is now, come say hello, Cuti Cuti Malaysia. Come together, you don't wanna be late. Fun and laughter with the family, it's great. Full of natural beauty, Malaysia. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderment. Cultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderful. Cuti Cuti Malaysia. And now that the time has come, spread your wings and fly high, high in the sky, everything you need and more, the place you want to be. Be in the kampong or in the city, I see your smiles to greet you wherever you go. The time is now, come say hello, Cuti Cuti Malaysia. Come together, you don't wanna be late. Fun and laughter with your friends, it's great. Full of natural beauty, Malaysia. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderment.
So now the time has come, the time to spread your wings and fly high. Everything you need and more. A place that you'll adore, set from the campus to the city. I see you smile, looking so pretty. Time is now for Cuti Cuti, only in Malaysia, baby. See the colors shine vibrantly from the north to the south to the east to the west end. Great times with the best of friends. There's so much to do, you'll be impressed and make everlasting memories all around. Natural beauty, please, and guaranteed you will never forget. Astonishing in Malaysia.
natural beauty, Malaysia, multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest breeze and ocean blues is yours to choose. Let us stretch eternal memories. Experience the wonderment. Malaysia, cuti-cuti Malaysia.
Good morning. Selamat pagi.
Bercuti semua, rehatkan minda bersukaria dengan keluarga tersayang, kawan-kawan pasti riang, kaya dengan sejarah, berbilang bangsa, adat dan budaya. Alam semula jadi penuh dengan warna-warni. Malaysia mempesona, semuanya kita ada. Malaysia mempesona di mata dunia. Jom cuti-cuti Malaysia bersama.
Ini Isabel kini seorang nomad digital di Asia Tenggara sebagai penganalisis data. Dengan kerjanya yang sangat fleksibel dan tidak perlu ke pejabat, Isabel gemar bekerja sambil melancong di lokasi yang lengkap dengan kemudahan digital, kos sara hidup yang rendah, selamat dan nyaman. Kini, Isabel ingin mengembara ke destinasi mesra nomad digital yang seterusnya, Malaysia. Sebuah negara yang kaya dengan pelbagai budaya, seni dan warisan. Work from Malaysia dengan mudah melalui capaian internet jalur lebar yang pantas, infrastruktur yang berkualiti, penyediaan ekosistem yang menyeluruh dan kondusif. Perkhidmatan digital yang disediakan adalah meluas dan memenuhi keperluan harian nomad digital. Memperkenalkan Di Rantau, sebuah program pemangkin di bawah inisiatif Malaysia Digital. Terokai pengalaman dan gaya hidup nomad digital di Malaysia. Melalui program Di Rantau, pelbagai keistimewaan telah disediakan seperti Pas Nomad Di Rantau. Di Rantau menawarkan pas lawatan ikhtisas PLIK kepada nomad digital warga asing bagi membenarkan para nomad tinggal sambil bekerja di Malaysia selama setahun. Hub Di Rantau, pelbagai jenis penginapan di destinasi strategik sekitar Malaysia yang memenuhi keperluan nomad digital. Ekosistem Di Rantau. Nomad digital yang berdaftar dengan Di Rantau boleh menikmati kadar dan tawaran eksklusif dalam ekosistem Di Rantau. Platform Di Rantau. Platform Di Rantau menyediakan segala maklumat terkini dan akses carian servis digital di hujung jari. Penginapan hub di rantau adalah inklusif di lokasi-lokasi strategik sekitar Malaysia dan memenuhi kriteria live. Lodging, tempat penginapan nomad dilengkapi dengan ruang kerja dan fasiliti yang selamat. Internet, capaian internet jalur lebar yang pantas. Vibrancy of livelihood, akses kepada pelbagai kemudahan yang tersedia untuk para nomad digital bagi gaya hidup yang aktif dan dinamik. Engagement, membolehkan komuniti digital nomad bertemu dan berinteraksi secara produktif dengan komuniti tempatan. Kunjungi destinasi menarik sekitar Malaysia. Kejayaan rangkaian di rantau melibatkan penyertaan pelbagai pemain industri sebagai rakan kongsi. Program ini dijangka menyemarakkan sektor ekonomi tempatan di Malaysia seperti sektor pelancongan, pengangkutan, peruncitan, makanan dan minuman. Malaysia mengalu-alukan kedatangan nomad digital dan alamilah pengalaman work from Malaysia sambil menerokai pelbagai lokasi, budaya dan warisan yang mempesonakan. Malaysia kini beraspirasi menjadi destinasi utama hub digital pilihan nomad. Terokai pengalaman melancong sambil bekerja sebagai nomad digital di Malaysia. Layari laman web mdac.my/dirantau untuk maklumat lanjut.
Masanya telah tiba, lebarkan sayapmu, terbang kembali. Semuanya ada 7 destinasi, di kota atau desa, menyambut mesra bertemu kembali. Semuanya turut serta cuti-cuti Malaysia. Sama kita melangkah, bergembira seisi keluarga. Malaysia penuh panorama indah, berbilang budaya. Warna-warni di ibu kota, hijau gunung, biru luas lautan. Langkahkan memori bersama, terokai keindahan.
Malaysia's digital journey began more than 2 decades ago when MSC Malaysia was set up to transform the country into a knowledge-based economy. Since then, MSC Malaysia has contributed immensely towards the growth of the nation's digital economy. Our next step is to take the digital transformation from the corridor to the world. Introducing Malaysia Digital, a strategic initiative which will empower the rakyat, businesses and foreign investments. Malaysia Digital will also elevate the participation of Malaysians and local businesses in revolutionizing the world's digital economy. Malaysia Digital opens doors for Malaysians by providing equitable access to digital tools, knowledge, and income opportunities. It offers new business opportunities and growth through a supportive digital ecosystem. It also provides flexible and agile investment facilitation to make the country investment friendly. The goal is to drive the digital ecosystem and develop the digital economy to a stage where it contributes at least 25.5% of our GDP and creates 500,000 jobs by 2025.
Malaysia Digital will galvanize public-private partnerships to accelerate the growth of our digital economy and drive positive transformation that ultimately benefit the rakyat, businesses, investors, and also the whole nation.
Establishing Malaysia into a digital nation, one with more adept, stronger and resilient economy, society, and governance. Stepping into tomorrow's digital future today.
Policy and productivity. You often hear the country's economic policies aimed at increasing gross domestic product, increasing exports, increasing investment, and creating high employment opportunities. These policies are also associated with improving the standards of living of the people. Are such policies appropriate or otherwise? What is your opinion? Do you often hear economic policies targeted at increasing the productivity of an industry, a state, or a country? For example, the increase in GDP, which is the national output, is less appropriate if it involves a more significant input. This means that the rate of the resulting output to input is shrinking, or simply put, productivity decreases as GDP increases. In every economic policy, the government should pay particular attention to enhancing the efficiency or productivity to convert input sources, namely labour and capital, to products and services. For example, In the manufacturing process, policies need to be directed towards improving employee skills, either upskilling or reskilling, to produce greater output while maintaining or decreasing the current input sources. Organizations need to be encouraged to innovate, especially by using technology that can help increase productivity, reducing costs, producing better quality products and services by penetrating better markets should be prioritized. In short, policymakers need to focus on increasing productivity. The target of productivity growth for a duration should be set and monitored periodically. Compliance with regulations and the implementation of incentives that can increase productivity must be made easier. If you succeed in doing this, the high standard and quality of living that we dream of will become a reality. I am sure that you can make your organization and Malaysia more productive. This message is brought to you by the Malaysian Productivity Corporation. The Great Reset. COVID-19 was declared the global pandemic by the World Health Organization in 2020. It has dramatically disrupted the economic sectors. Most countries recorded their gross domestic products plunged to the lowest level in decades. Meanwhile, their unemployment figures rose sharply. The government services, especially public healthcare, were stretched out to their limit in fighting the pandemic. The COVID-19 testing, treating hospitalized patients, and vaccination is becoming major healthcare activities. Other services, such as education and various regulatory delivery and enforcements, are also impacted. The governments are forced to create the stimulus to ensure people are protected. Billions of dollars of economic stimulus are pumped into the economy to avoid market failure. The World Economic Forum 2021 has urged countries should capitalize on resetting their business models during the recovery period. Professor Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of WEF, stated, "The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Every country, including Malaysia, should reset and revive for a better and sustainable economy. The priorities for restoring and transformation are towards the new economic systems that combine productivity, people, and planet targets. They are categorized into 4 areas of action. First, reviving and transforming the enabling environment. Public institutions should embed strong governance principles, long-term vision, and delivery of public services digitally. ICT infrastructure needs to be upgraded to enable the services, and closing the digital divide are key focus areas. Second, reviving and transforming human capital, workforce reskilling and upskilling. Update education curricula and expand investment in skills for future jobs. Labour laws and social protection need to be redesigned towards the new economy. Third, reviving transforming market. Incentives should prioritise the direct financial resources towards long-term investments, strengthen stability and expand inclusion. Facilitation of the market of tomorrow, especially in public-private collaboration, should be emphasised. In addition, an agile regulatory framework to enable fourth industrial revolution must be established. Fourth, reviving and transforming the innovation ecosystem. Incentives in research, innovation and invention that can create the market of tomorrow are essential. In addition, firms should be promoted to embrace diversity, equality and inclusion to enhance creativity. Malaysia should not miss this reset and reviving opportunity to design the foundations for a productive country for future generations. This message is brought to you by Malaysia Productivity Corporation.
And now that the time has come, spread your wings and fly high, high in the sky. Everything you need and more, the place you want to be. Oh, be it the kampong Multicultural beauty, Malaysia. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderment. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderful. Cuti Cuti Malaysia. And now that the time has come, spread your wings and fly high, high in the sky. Everything you need and more, the place you want to be. Be in the comfort or in the city. I see your smiles to greet you wherever you go. The time is now, come say hello. Cuti Cuti Malaysia. Come together, you don't wanna be late. Fun and laughter with your friends, it's great. Full of natural beauty, Malaysia. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky. Forest greens and ocean blues, it's yours to choose. Let us sketch eternal memories. Experience the wonderment.
So now the time has come, the time to spread your wings and fly high. Everything you need and more. A place that you'll adore, set from the capital to the city. I see you smile, looking so pretty. Time is now for Cuti Cuti, only in Malaysia, baby. Now, see the colors shine vibrantly from the north to the south to the east to the west end. Great times with the best of friends. There's so much to do, you'll be impressed. Make everlasting memories all around. Natural beauty, please, it's guaranteed. You will never forget the Star Nation Malaysia.
Come together, you could use a break. Fun and laughter with your friends, it's great. Full of natural beauty, Malaysia. Multicultural harmony. See the colors like the city sky.
Morgen. Selamat pagi.
Malaysia truly Asia. Jom bercuti semua, rehatkan minda bersukaria dengan keluarga tersayang, kawan-kawan pasti riang, kaya dengan sejarah, berbilang bangsa, adat dan budaya. Alam semula jadi penuh dengan warna-warni. Malaysia mempesona, semuanya kita ada. Malaysia mempesona di mata dunia. Jom cuti-cuti Malaysia bersama. Memori indah pastinya kekal di hati. Menikmati keindahan alam semula jadi menggamitku kembali. Cuti-cuti Malaysia. City lights, kampung lights, you know we have it all. Sandy beaches, sun-kissed skies forevermore. Rediscovering our land and the beauty that surrounds us all. Cuti-cuti Malaysia.
Hai, ini Isabel. Isabel kini seorang nomad digital di Asia Tenggara sebagai penganalisis data. Dengan kerjanya yang sangat fleksibel dan tidak perlu ke pejabat, Isabel gemar bekerja sambil melancong di lokasi yang lengkap dengan kemudahan digital, kos sara hidup yang rendah, selamat dan nyaman. Kini, Isabel ingin mengembara ke destinasi mesra nomad digital yang seterusnya, Malaysia, sebuah negara yang kaya dengan pelbagai budaya, seni dan warisan. Work from Malaysia dengan mudah melalui capaian internet jalur lebar yang pantas, infrastruktur yang berkualiti, penyediaan ekosistem yang menyeluruh dan kondusif. Perkhidmatan digital yang disediakan adalah meluas dan memenuhi keperluan harian nomad digital. Memperkenalkan Di Rantau, sebuah program pemangkin di bawah inisiatif Malaysia Digital. Terokai pengalaman dan gaya hidup nomad digital di Malaysia. Melalui program Di Rantau, pelbagai keistimewaan telah disediakan seperti Pas Nomad Di Rantau. Di Rantau menawarkan pas lawatan ikhtisas PLIK kepada nomad digital warga asing bagi membenarkan para nomad tinggal sambil bekerja di Malaysia selama setahun. Hub Di Rantau, pelbagai jenis penginapan di destinasi strategik sekitar Malaysia yang memenuhi keperluan nomad digital. Ekosistem Di Rantau. Nomad digital yang berdaftar dengan Di Rantau boleh menikmati kadar dan tawaran eksklusif dalam ekosistem Di Rantau. Platform Di Rantau. Platform Di Rantau menyediakan segala maklumat terkini dan akses carian servis digital di hujung jari. Penginapan hub Di Rantau adalah inklusif di lokasi-lokasi strategik sekitar Malaysia dan memenuhi kriteria live. Lodging. Tempat penginapan nomad dilengkapi dengan ruang kerja dan fasiliti yang selamat. Internet. Capaian internet jalur lebar yang pantas. Vibrancy of livelihood. Akses kepada pelbagai kemudahan yang tersedia untuk para nomad digital bagi gaya hidup yang aktif dan dinamik. Engagement. Membolehkan komuniti digital nomad bertemu dan berinteraksi secara produktif dengan komuniti tempatan. Kunjungi destinasi menarik sekitar Malaysia. Kejayaan rangkaian Di Rantau melibatkan penyertaan pelbagai pemain industri sebagai rakan kongsi. Program ini dijangka menyemarakkan sektor ekonomi tempatan di Malaysia seperti sektor pelancongan, pengangkutan, peruncitan, makanan dan minuman. Malaysia mengalu-alukan kedatangan nomad digital dan alamilah pengalaman work from Malaysia sambil menerokai pelbagai lokasi, budaya dan warisan yang mempesonakan. Malaysia kini beraspirasi menjadi destinasi utama hub digital pilihan nomad. Terokai pengalaman melancong sambil bekerja sebagai nomad digital di Malaysia. Layari laman web mdac.my/dirantau untuk maklumat lanjut.
Masanya telah tiba, lebarkan sayapmu, terbang kembali. Semuanya ada 7 destinasi, di kota atau desa, menyambut mesra bertemu kembali. Semuanya turut serta cuti-cuti Malaysia. Sama-sama kita melangkah, berduri
Malaysia's digital journey began more than 2 decades ago when MSC Malaysia was set up to transform the country into a knowledge-based economy. Since then, MSC Malaysia has contributed immensely towards the growth of the nation's digital economy. Our next step is to take the digital transformation from the corridor to the world. Introducing Malaysia Digital, a strategic initiative which will empower the rakyat, businesses and foreign investments. Malaysia Digital will also elevate the participation of Malaysians and local businesses in revolutionizing the world's digital economy. Malaysia Digital opens doors for Malaysians by providing equitable access to digital tools, knowledge and income opportunities. It offers new business opportunities and growth through a supportive digital ecosystem. It also provides flexible and agile investment facilitation to make the country investment friendly. The goal is to drive the digital ecosystem and develop the digital economy to a stage where it contributes at least 25.5% of our GDP and creates 500,000 jobs by 2025.
Malaysia Digital will galvanize public-private partnerships to accelerate the growth of our digital economy and drive positive transformation that ultimately benefit the rakyat, businesses, investors, and also the whole nation.
Establishing Malaysia into a digital nation, one with more adept, stronger and resilient economy, society and governance. Stepping into tomorrow's digital future today.